Orleans Sports with Eric Asher is underwritten by...
At Villere's Florist, we deliver the magic of flowers 7 days a week to the North Shore and South Shore in the New Orleans area. Whether it's for birthday parties, baby celebrations, Villere's provides colorful floral displays for all. With a store full of fresh-cut flowers, exotic tropical flowers, orchids, roses, and even fruit baskets, our goal is to make your vision a reality. Villere's Florist, proudly serving Louisiana since 1969.
Dave Miette Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood, business, 504-556-0809. Dave Miette, INSagency.com.
For over 48 years, Southern Tires and Auto Repair has provided services across the New Orleans metro area. Southern Tires offers a range of tires for all vehicles and ATVs. We also have a full suite of auto repair options, including brake repair, rim repair, custom exhaust, steering and suspension, tire siping, and so much more. Southern Tires and Auto Repair, 2550 Hickory Avenue in Metairie.
C&C Drugs is a family-owned pharmacy that's been serving Southeast Louisiana for over 50 years. Whether you need help taking care of an elderly family member, a growing child, or even a pet, C&C provides patient-centered care for your entire family. C&C Drugs, large enough to serve you, small enough to know you. Locations in Mandeville and Araby.
Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of Inside New Orleans Sports. I'm your host, Eric Asher. Over the next hour, we cover all the home teams as we always do. Saints, LSU, Tulane, also the Pelicans. Also, we'll touch on the New Orleans Bowl as that's happening as well. And, of course, one of the best we have. You ask for him constantly. We try to get him as much as we can. Mike Detillier of WWL Radio is our guest today. Mike, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Eric.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to you and your family.
You. I'm always trying to get my price up to come on the show, so
you have to talk to Will about that.
Yeah, okay. I'm good in the
We'll negotiate the contracts.
Well, Will and I, we can take care of that. But no, it's always great to be on with you. And then sometimes, schedules conflict. Right. So we always make it work. Try to do it once a month or somewhere in that range.
Well, we appreciate your time as always. Mike, anything you'd like to tell anybody about the shows coming up? What you got coming up on?
Well, it's that time of the year. Right. It's hard to believe. Right. College football season is over. Now you enter the postseason in the bowl games. How fast it happened.
It did.
It's the blink of the eye, and it passes so quickly. And I've learned throughout the years to enjoy it. Yeah. Enjoy that time. Yeah. And it was something Sean Payton and I talked about after he left. And he's like, sometimes you don't enjoy the moment. Mm-hmm. Enjoy this moment. That, for me, to watch Tulane, mm-hmm. Tulane gets to double-digit wins with Willie, and appreciate what he's done for the program and how he's brought it to another level. And Jaden Daniels at LSU, carrying 2 buckets of water. Mm-hmm. Man, he was fantastic, and you learn to appreciate what you see there. And then Nicholls State, right down the road from where I live, they win the Southland Conference. They go undefeated in Southland Conference play, and so you learn to enjoy the local stuff. Because I do all this national stuff too, and that's super. But this is home for me, and so you understand. You enjoy that moment more today than I did when I was 32 years old. Okay, I enjoyed a lot more today than when I was 32 years old to cover sports and to see the athletes from this area and how well they've done. Because I know how much work and time and sacrifice they put in.
Absolutely.
For the average person, they don't get it. They all spoiled. Man, what? That might be for some pro athletes they spoiled. Sure. But it's very seldom you see that journey that those guys aren't working really, really hard. And also the women too in sports. And you see you know, what Kim Mulkey has done at LSU to build this juggernaut.
Yes.
And you might agree or disagree with how she handles things. My thing is, okay, I'm not in her moccasins every day. She's going to handle things the way she wants to, and her record tells you she knows what she's doing.
That's right. She's got the success, no doubt about it. Well, I don't know how you feel about the New Orleans Saints this season. 6-7 three-way tie with Tampa Bay and Atlanta, with Tampa Bay having the tiebreaker right now at 6-7. Your thoughts on the season?
Frustration. Eric, I hate to say it, but it's true. You and I are not going to live long enough to see a schedule set up like this.
I swear.
Never. And we talked about this back in when the schedule came out in May and June. What?
Right.
These are the lack of gunslinger quarterbacks. And then you get all these quarterbacks get knocked out, and you see in the second and the third string quarterbacks having opportunities to play. And you just see whatever has sort of peeled apart here, the offense has never clicked all season long. You had one moment, that was Indianapolis, where your offense really played well in that game against the Colts. Well, come on, you need more than one moment in that. And now a little bit more breakdowns on defense, not being able to stop the run, not being able to get sacks. I think your secondary has played pretty well.
Me too.
Without a really good pass rush, they have really played pretty well this season. But it's been teams' basically ability to run the football against them. We hadn't seen that in the past. And so frustration. And, you know, it's almost like if you had just one thing wrong, you could fix it.
Sure.
But it's not one thing. It's numerous things here that are wrong, and you fix one thing and then something else goes wrong with it.
Let's talk about Derek Carr and give me your thoughts on how he's performed thus far this season, with injury, despite injury.
No, he hasn't played well.
No.
Okay, when you got that kind of money lay out to you, they want you to play more than. Okay, he's played below average.
I agree with that.
You can't say he's an average quarterback in this league.
He's been an average quarterback.
He's been an average quarterback. Right. And sometimes maybe a notch above.
I agree with that.
And sometimes it's a notch below. But this year, that has not happened.
Why, Mike?
Man, I don't know. There is a lot of hesitation for him in the pocket.
Agreed.
Getting rid of
more than I've ever seen for him.
Yeah, and you know, Bobby and I talk about this all the time. Like, get rid of the football quick. You just can't sit there and look around. Get rid of it
Mike,
fast.
I find myself doing the count every time he drops back.
And here's the other thing. I think if you put Dennis Allen on the lie detector machine, I think his deal is he would like to run the ball more. And this team has run the ball okay, but it's not been great. Now, again, you got what you got up front along the offensive line. The surprise there has been how well Andrus Peat has actually played at the left tackle position. Because, you know, when they switched him, it's been a while since Andrus had played there, and you wondered, can he hold up?
Right. And he wasn't that good at left tackle to begin with, which is why he got moved inside.
But I think he's played pretty solid there.
Solid.
I do give him credit to make that switch. And if he wants to play longer in the NFL, based off of this season, he's punched his ticket to another huge payday.
I think so. He's going to be a swing guy at the very least.
But Eric, I think just frustration. And I think now for the first time in a long time, and this was pre-Sean Payton, the fans say, wait a minute, we don't not only see the short-term results here, what's going to happen down the road?
That's right.
With our draft picks, how are we going to rebuild this team? Okay.
And do they have the right people in place to rebuild it?
And you can't blame it on the fans. Say, oh, well, they're selling their tickets. Man, listen, if you bought them, you have every right to sell them.
Right.
Every right to sell them.
And I think in a lot of cases, that's also a message sent to the Saints. You know, we're not going to sit here and watch this, okay? We'd rather sell it to the opposing team.
And it's new to them.
Right.
Because the people that are in charge now, they didn't see a lot of this mess before when it was here.
Right.
So it's a new world of what's seeing and happening here in New Orleans, and frustration from the fans about, okay, you paid all this money to this quarterback, and now this is the results we're getting. And also, too, from watching what we saw, let's say, in training camp, some of those players that we thought really played well and did well in training camp has not been able to translate it to a regular season game. Have not.
Right.
Because we watch it, man. Jawan Johnson,
Right.
who was really good in training camp.
Right.
Really, really good. He's not been able to flip the switch at all with
Got
it.
injured early and hasn't been the same guy.
And then I think, too, is the lack of production. Now, Brian Breezy is one thing, because he has given you a decent pass rush from the middle.
Yes.
Now, in run support, again, we talked about it before. The way he's built, he's going to have to learn how to play a little bit lower. He can get under his pads and I can move him around. Foskey, he got basically nothing. Kendra Miller, basically nothing out of it. Saul DeVary,
Nothing.
hurt, basically nothing. A.T. Perry, at least you see a little bit of what you got there. And Jordan Howden, who I think's played pretty well
too.
this year for
I
a
agree
rookie.
with you.
But I think fans are, wait a minute now, where's Peyton Turner? Oh, what's happened to him? And I get it. If you're hurt, you're hurt.
Right.
Nothing you can do about
But
it.
when you're always hurt, that's an issue.
Okay, and you and I sat here when they picked him. Man, I've seen all these articles and all this stuff on the internet about, oh, he never misses games. Come on, you stretched that rubber band as far as you can. Now, if that's your research, then you did bad with it. You did bad research. He always had a nick and a scrape at Houston. And was he dominant there? No.
One game, Tulane.
Okay.
Tulane.
And so my thing is, you are looking at a metrics of player. Okay, this is what I want the player to look like.
Right.
You know, my thing is football production. Tell me your football production. Very few guys that aren't productive in college can play in the NFL.
Right.
Very few. Now, every once in a while, it's like a band that comes out with a song and they are one-hit wonder. Okay? One-hit wonder, boom. And they take over for a little while. I'm not sure we're not seeing it in New York now with Tommy DeVito.
Right.
And it's a great story for the NFL. Fantastic story.
Right.
But wasn't Josh Downs 4 weeks ago Tommy DeVito?
Of course.
In Minnesota? Wasn't he that guy?
Absolutely.
And now you're seeing it. That's a little bit different because, man, Minneapolis and in New York, and you in the Big Apple, and you grew up in Jersey, and you played at Don Bosco.
Right.
It's almost storybook.
Right,
The
right.
NFL must say, "Good Lord, how lucky can we get?"
Look at the two offensive players of the week this week, both quarterbacks out of New York.
And Zach Wilson, well, you got what you got with him,
Right.
and you can see it. Every once in a while he'll give you a decent game, but you know it's between the ears with him at this stage. So
Is it between the ears for Derek Carr too right now?
I think it is. I think it is. And it can happen to a veteran quarterback too.
Right.
Happen to a veteran.
Well, isn't that the
quarterback.
reason why you see? My issue with Derek Carr is, you go get the 10-year vet, you pay him the $150 million, so you don't have the growing pains within the offense. A guy that could come in within a few weeks, be able to digest that offense, and be able to run that offense. And we have not seen that consistently out of him all season long. And now, you know, you got all this stuff that's going on in the locker room. You got the situation, obviously, what you had this weekend with McCoy. You've had Mike Thomas, live tweeting. Kamara, again, giving his comments on what he feels about the offense. You've had, obviously, he's had problems with Olave, Shaheed. And you wonder, again, how much that's wearing on the locker room.
Yeah, the stuff with him and McCoy, and I've
in the heat
seen
of the
that
game.
so many times.
Agreed.
That's the heat of the game. And for some people, they don't get it. Well, that don't happen in my workplace.
Right.
Okay, you're not a professional athlete.
I've seen it happen at
Come on.
workplaces, right?
You got to be kidding me.
Right.
That's not happening. And then, after the game's over with, everything's cool. But didn't the Saints play better after the confrontation?
They did.
They played better afterwards. Right. So did it sort of spark something? I don't know. Now, had you played worse, which would have been hard to believe.
Well, same thing happened with the booing a couple weeks ago with Carr, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Carr's getting booed, and it comes out, he goes 14 for the next 15 before he gets hurt.
And so my thing is, can't be sensitive about it.
Right.
You got to move on, and there's only one way to fix it. Win.
Right.
Okay? You playing the Giants this week. Okay? And I think we always live in the moment. I think all of us do to a certain extent. I try not to, because sometimes that doesn't work good for you.
Sure.
We saw Monday night, okay, the Giants, okay. They play in the Packers, who won 3 straight games. Jordan Love looks great. The Packers defense have really played good. They rushed for over 200 yards against the Packers defense.
Right.
And Jordan Love, he made a few plays, but they turned the ball over. That game would not even been close had Saquon Barkley not put the ball on the turf when he makes that big run downfield, he gave the Packers an opportunity to come back and take the lead. Had he not done that, Eric, we wouldn't even be talking about that. It would be purely the DeVito-Barkley game.
Right.
But because it's sort of the stretch didn't happen, but it made a great theater. Because, okay, how many people are staying up to watch the Giants and the Packers and the Titans and the Dolphins? Right. Now, for some people, fantasy football and gambling keeps your interest ready.
Absolutely.
Okay. And, you know, it's the first time, since 2016 that a team down by 14 points with less than 3 minutes comes back and win. And of all people, the Titans.
Right.
No, I do stuff for the pre and post game for the Titans. I would have never expected that from them. And D-Hop sort of takes over, and Will Levis does a nice job. And it's almost like the Titans were trying to give the game away at one point, and they come back and make the run. So it makes the NFL great theater. It just, because Hank Stram told me this years ago. He's like, Bayou, you know what gets coaches fired in this league? I was like, no. He said, bad football and you being boring.
Yeah.
He said, you know, I'm just telling you, he said, bad football and you being boring. He said, you know, if you are entertaining, okay, for some people, winning is ultimate.
Right.
And which it should be.
Should be.
But he said, if you entertaining, they're willing to cut you a little bit of slack. And he said, you know what I was with the Saints? I was boring. We were rebuilding the team, but I was boring. And he said, you know, he lose to Tampa Bay, a team that had never won a game, and that got him fired and got Coryell fired because he lost them the next week in St. Louis, and he gets run off. So I think just the frustration of the season. And I think people realized the schedule was set up for you to make a run here and be at least a 10-win team with the schedule you had set up.
I would agree. That's what I had them. I had them at 10 wins.
And it has not worked out, and it's a myriad of issues now. It's not just one.
No, I agree.
You can blame it on Derek, and he's a big part of it because you're getting paid.
Well,
you're getting paid, and you're the quarterback.
There has to be a few questions here. First of all, the play calling of Carmichael. But again, playing a guy that was injured, it looked like last week they shortened all the routes because, again, he was injured, inability to throw the ball downfield. Now, he threw the ball downfield late. That got him in a position where they scored 2 touchdowns in what, about a minute 30. But overall, when you look at his performance, some people are looking to maybe the backup. What are your thoughts?
I think
especially because he's injured.
The decision for me would have been why you played him in the Tampa Bay game early.
Right.
I mean, you coming off that injury and you played him.
Well, it was kind of the same thing this week again, right? I mean, again, the rib injury, he couldn't throw the ball. I mean, I watched a few plays where they had 3 players within a few yards of each other, 10 yards downfield. I mean, who's fooling the defense with that?
The explanations of what's going on offensively is perplexing.
Right.
You had a running game going.
Right, you did, and
then you unplugged it.
Right.
That part, Eric, I don't get. I don't get at all. So that's a play calling issue.
Not using Jimmy Graham. When you mentioned Juwan Johnson, he has not played well this year.
So why is Jimmy sick? And I'm not asking Jimmy to play 35 plays a game. Play him 15 to 20. Okay, use him as your tight end version of Taysom Hill.
Right.
Short yardage, red zone.
Mike Thomas is out. You need a possession receiver. Use him there.
It's as head scratching and frustrating as you can get at this stage. So when you're the head coach, it comes back to you.
Always does. Always does.
Okay, you're going to take the heat for this. You and the quarterback, you both getting paid the most amount of money. The head coach getting paid the most amount of money. The quarterback getting paid the most amount of money. So you're going to get the blame. Now, when you win, you get a lot more credit than you should.
Always.
But my thing about it is, with this schedule and with some of the talent you have on this team, to play as bad as you played on offense, unexcusable.
Right. You mentioned the defense as well. You know, they bring in 2 guys that had their best seasons in Saunders and Shepard, but those were backups, and you expected those guys to take the next step, and let's face it, they did not. They have not done that consistently this year. Again, the inability to stop the run has really been an Achilles heel for this defense.
Yeah, and I talked to a couple guys that come to our Louisiana line camp that coach with the Chiefs, and they were like, you better hard coach Saunders. Not that he doesn't have talent, that he's got talent, but you're going to have to kind of lean on him quite a bit. With Shepard, man, he looked good in practice. Man, you could see athletically how he can get off the ball, and he's so quick and he's so fast. He hasn't turned that into production in a regular season game. Just
well, he was also going against the Saints offensive line, which again is taking a step back this year, right?
Yeah, but even with that, Eric, there is something about watching a guy who can move around and get around people.
Agreed.
Even if it's a second string lineman or a third string lineman, you can see he had talent. I don't know about the buttons being pressed there.
Okay.
And
so you think it's a motivational issue?
I think it's...
Or a schematic issue?
I think it's a little bit of both here.
Okay.
I think it's a little bit of both. The only guy that you can say week in, week out, and he gives you Carl Granderson.
Every week.
And you paid him, and people out there, guys get paid, they don't put, man, that's not their effort deal with Carl Granderson. He gives you a lot. Now, teams get it. So you know what they're doing now? They get a little chip with a tight end, running back.
That used to happen with Jordan on the other side.
But now their deal is, man, Jordan we can handle, but man, Carl Granderson's a different issue.
Right.
So for the secondary, that has been sort of as advertised, even with some injuries. Yeah. It has been as
Look at
advertised.
Adam coming in the other day. I mean,
and so Isaac. He's a good player. Somebody's going to pay him in this offseason.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to pay him. And I thought the play of the game was Paulson Adebo.
Oh, yes.
Running across the field to make a tackle at a guy with the 1.5 yard line. And then they get 2 negative plays and they backed up. It goes to show you. Because we had a bunch of people text in, y'all too hard on Mr. Tepper, he shouldn't be involved with the Panthers, or why is he so upset about it? After you watch this game, if I'm worth $25 billion and I paid what I paid for this franchise, I'll be upset what I see on the field for the Panthers.
Should be upset what you see on the field for the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, so you get it that you got a new breed of owner now, too, hitting the league. Gail Benson's more of the old school type than, I'll give him a chance. We're going to roll this out.
Maybe patient to a fault.
To a fault. And sometimes, Eric, I've been in other businesses before.
Right.
Continuity is great, but sometimes change needs to happen.
And a shake-up is good sometimes.
And it gets everybody refocused back. And sometimes new ideas coming in to the organization, it does have an impact, okay? It's great to have continuity when you're winning.
Yes.
But when you're losing,
you can't double down
sell
on a
that.
bad idea.
No.
That's the problem.
No.
You know, when you see it didn't work, when you saw it didn't work last year, you double down on it this year. What are you going to do at the end of this season? You're going to double down again? You're going to try to make some staff changes, some cosmetic changes, and come back with the same type of with Allen and that regime? What are your thoughts? What do you think happens at the end of the season?
Bobby and I, we sort of agree and sometimes disagree, but feeling is if the Saints somehow, some way would get into the playoffs, you have staff changes, and Coach Allen stays.
Okay. If they don't?
If they don't, then you got to make a move.
Do you think they're willing to do that?
I think that you almost have to.
I think you have to because I think the fans have spoken.
I think that they've spoken long ago. I think they've spoken not only over the last couple of weeks. I think they've spoken long ago about, hey, wait a minute.
Well, they know what good football looks like.
Exactly. And you can say, well, they spoiled. Okay, spoiled. You don't need to get too much better. But again, it goes back to Stram's comment. Bad football and boring.
Right. Mike, I know you get this question all the time on your show. Better for this team to make the playoffs and maybe be out in one game, or get the better draft position and miss the playoffs?
Man, the way they draft, I would say let me get into the playoffs. Come on, lately.
I have to say you're right. And Jeff Allen's gotten a lot of accolades from yours truly as well. But again, when you start breaking it down.
Okay, you break it down after 2017, it's been a lot of hit and miss.
Right.
And some of the early picks.
Right.
And so that's where.
And that's where you got to hit gold.
You got to be able to do it. I mean, you look how teams can quickly turn around. A great example is right out west of us with the Texans. And there was a lot of debate there with C.J. Stroud. I think they don't want to admit that, but I think there's some truth to that about they weren't really sure about C.J. because I think they really wanted Will Anderson. But then they were able to kind of come back and get him.
Yes.
They had multiple first-round picks because of the Deshaun Watson trade. So they were able to deal their pick, and you still have a first-round pick this year. But you were able to kind of maneuver it with C.J. Stroud, Will Anderson Jr., Tank Dell, who they picked in the middle rounds, who was a great little player at University of Houston. He's been a really good football. Now, he got hurt.
Yes, he did.
And Nico Collins has come through for him as a young receiver. They believe.
Well, they drafted that high. If you know what you're doing, you should be able to add players that are going to help you immediately.
Okay, here's the thing with the Texans. When's the last time you could say they made some clever maneuvers?
I can't. No, I agree with you there.
So, again.
When's the last time they made a clever maneuver here in New Orleans?
Okay, you got that part exactly right.
Right.
But
I mean, they're good at moving up, but are they getting the quality players? I mean, look at Penning right now.
Yeah, and so that's an issue, too, that you got a first-round pick of a year ago. He's watching. He's not playing. He's watching. Peyton Turner's on the IR.
Davenport was a bust.
Davenport. Okay.
Now you're looking at that offensive line, all that draft cap you put in an offensive line, and you're saying to yourself, okay, is this the quarterback that is, again, making these offensive line look so bad, or are they that bad?
No, I think it's a combination of both. It's just not the quarterback here.
Right.
Offensive line, we talked about that before the season.
Ruiz looks like a bust.
And
they doubled down and gave him an extension.
A new contract. So it is what it is at this stage. Now you got to dig your way out of it.
How?
Now you're going to have to dig your way out of it. So
you're cap strapped, and you've given away so many draft picks over the last few years. How do you do that?
Because you almost have to go to the fans and say, hey, listen, we made some errors here.
Right.
And we're going to rebuild.
Right. Do you think
not retool,
right.
Rebuild.
Okay, I get that. And maybe they should have done that when Peyton walked away. But do you trust Mickey Loomis to rebuild this franchise?
Well,
do you think the fans trust Mickey Loomis?
The fans definitely don't.
No, they don't.
Fans definitely don't.
The fans would like to see a complete pressure wash in the organization right now. They feel like, again, the Peyton era is over, and there needs to be some new direction and new blood. That's what I'm hearing.
No, that's constant. No matter where you go, what you do, and you can say, oh, well, that's just unsophisticated or uneducated fans. No, that's not correct.
Not in this place.
No, that's not correct. And you talk to people outside the city of New Orleans who cover the NFL or is in the NFL, they got the same comments, very similar comments to what the fans have. So it's just not the unsophisticated, uneducated fans. Come on, you can't blame the fans.
Cannot.
I don't get that.
The fans, there is a waiting list to be on the season, to be a season ticket holder here right now. Still. Okay? Even after these last couple of years.
Eric, we say this all the time. The fans come in there, they want to be the 12th man. They want to cheer. They want to be involved in the ball game. We've heard it for so many years from opposing teams and quarterbacks, how loud it is in there, how it's so difficult to communicate. You don't hear that anymore.
That's right. No, you don't.
You don't hear it anymore.
It's not a don't feel advantage. That leads me to Mrs. Benson. Again, this is like a big family there. They've been together so long. She's watched Dennis Allen's kids grow up. Again, Mickey Loomis has been there forever. She probably knows Mickey Loomis' grandkids. How do you make changes when when it's such a close, tight-knit family type situation? And guys that were loyal to Tom Benson.
Very loyal, and is part of the breakdown when Mrs. Benson passes on. Well, that's the other tie.
They're also loyal to her during the situation about, again, who was going to inherit the teams, right?
Correct.
I mean, so there's some real loyalty there. How does she make these changes?
Listen,
it's tough.
I get it, it's tough, but there's a certain cut because this is a business like no other business.
Agreed. Bottom line business, W's and L's.
It's all about production.
That's right.
And I think the fans could accept if you told them, hey, we're going to make some moves here, and this isn't about a retool. This is about a rebuild because we have age on both sides of the football.
They see it now.
They see it with some of the best players that have ever put on the black and gold on defense. They're getting up in age and not quite the same player.
I agree, Mike.
They would understand that.
Absolutely they would, because they know.
But you can't sell them on something that they don't believe in. Fans today, know a lot more about the game than you might think they do.
And if they don't believe in the head coach and they don't believe in the general manager, then they don't believe in the franchise and the direction of the franchise.
And you and I have lived long enough, we've seen that before.
I have.
In past years.
And Mike, for those of us that have seen what this was pre-Peyton and went through the years again of the bad coaches and the bad drafts and the bad free agent moves and plan B, and we go all the way down the line, right? Okay, we see the difference. We know the difference. We know the direction that it's going in. Nobody wants to get caught in again, a constant situation where you're involved in mediocrity. Okay, I know the NFL is a mediocre league right now. Look at
it is a worse league today, than when we first started covering them.
I agree.
So worse league today.
But the athletes are better. Okay, but yes, it is a worse league. But I think, and you can call the fans spoiled all you want. I'd say they're demanding. They know the difference between good football and bad football.
My thing is, they want bang for their buck.
That's all. I mean,
come on, you got to give me something back. No, for a lot of people, I think if you get a certain level, you don't maybe understand that average fan that might put that money away every time they get paid.
True.
If it's every 2 weeks, every week, I'll put that money aside because I want to buy season tickets. I want to bring my kids to the games.
True.
I want to bring wife, girlfriend, whatever to the game.
This is not a corporate city.
No, it's not.
Again, this is still again where you got the average fan that's buying group boxes or groups of tickets.
And the other thing is the economics part here.
Right. Agreed.
Which I think a lot of people don't quite get. Some people are doing really well in this world.
Right.
Other people are struggling, really struggling.
We're a different city post-Katrina. I mean, again, this was a city before Katrina where you could live pretty well and not maybe make a lot of money. Now this is an expensive city to live in.
The other part, too, is, and this will be a history books write-up, post-Ida.
Right.
Because now, to live here, have a home here, insurance, all across the board. And, okay.
What do you think takes the first hit?
I got to give up something.
You're going to give up football? You're going to give up going to restaurants? I mean, again,
for most people, eating is
they're going to
come first.
They're going to keep going to the, but again, they're going to start saying, okay, look, I can't afford the Saints tickets anymore.
Afford. I would love to go, but I can't afford it. So we are living in times of post-Katrina. But now, as that started to get a little bit better, then we had like one storm after another. But post-Ida now has put this at another level because of insurance and other things that have happened economically. You and I have lived through all these ups and downs economically. At least, 10, 12 times in our lives? Where it's been good and then it goes down and then inflation's high and then it's not. But we're living in that. That's where you have to live in today and understand that sometimes that average fan, he doesn't have a ton of money that's extra to him. He's making sacrifices so he can go to the game, be a part of it, and everything else.
I agree. And look, the prices are expensive at the Dome. The prices are expensive at the arena. You look at, again, you're a city with 2 professional teams. And those teams have to be supported. Well, you have to give the fans a reason to support. And at some point, those diehards who are going to say, I'm just writing the check, they're going to think twice about, you know what? If they're not willing to put a good product on the field of the court, then maybe I'm not willing to be able to write that check anymore.
The other part, too, is there is really actually a third professional, and that's LSU.
True.
Because now you have LSU football, LSU baseball, LSU's women's basketball.
True.
We had Kim on the show every week last year. And I told her, Kim, I didn't think I'd live long enough to see this. We're doing a show at Silver Slipper Casino. They got people, LSU's playing a basketball game on a Monday night. They got people hollering at them, hey, put that LSU basketball game on.
Women's basketball.
The lady was like, wait a minute, what channel is it on? And she was like, you know what? That really makes me feel good. That people are that interested. You look into PMAC when they play women's basketball in a big game, that place is sold.
Well, Mike, you got a coach who, again, builds championship teams. And people like to win, and they like championships. That's the issue we're seeing right now in New Orleans with both the Pelicans and the Saints. What's the direction they're going? We know the direction LSU's basketball team's going, women's basketball. They're going to be in the mix for a championship again. What about this team? What about this organization on Airline Drive? What do they have to do to get the fans back, again, feeling like, again, they can not just support the team, but have confidence that they know that they're doing the right thing?
Bottom line is, people, fire this one, get rid of, cut this one. You can't do that. You're not working at Walmart.
No.
You're not working at Burger King or whatever. You're going to have Derek Carr on the roster in 2024, at least in 2024.
Right.
Nothing, I think, jump starts an organization.
Right.
Good young quarterback.
Let's take a break here. We're running way behind. You're watching Inside New Orleans Sports. I'm your host, Eric Asher. Our guest today is Mike Detillier of WWL Radio. We'll be right back. We'll talk LSU, Tulane, and Pels. Don't move.
Burkhart's Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration has been family-owned and operated since 1989. Burkhart has energy-efficient solutions and offers brands such as Mitsubishi ductless AC units and Amana, the only manufacturer with a lifetime unit replacement warranty. Burkhart's offers maintenance bundle packages that include servicing your AC, generator, and tankless water heater. For more information on the services Burkhart's provides, visit acpromise.com. Burkhart's Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration, providing comfort for life.
Located at 3701 Iberville Street in Mid-City is Katie's Restaurant and Bar. Open 7 days a week, Katie's offers daily specials for lunch, dinner, and Sunday brunch. Serving New Orleans cuisine such as fried shrimp platters, grilled redfish, and a fully stocked bar. And don't forget about our expanded event seating and local entertainment. Featured on the Best of Food Network's diners, drive-ins, and dives, Katie's Restaurant and Bar.
Acadian Custom Shutters is locally owned and operated, specializing in interior and exterior shutters and window coverings, as well as awnings and patio covers. Acadian Custom Shutters offers American products with personal service and workmanship, serving the South Shore, North Shore, and Mississippi Gulf Coast. More information is available at 985-893-3119 or AcadianCustomShutters.com.
Welcome back to Inside New Orleans Sports. Mike Detillier is our guest. We talk Tulane football now. Tulane again heading to the Military Bowl, take on Virginia Tech. That's the 27th of December. That's a 1 o'clock kickoff on ESPN. They finished the season 11-2, and of course losing to SMU in the conference championship. All right, new coach John Summerall comes over from Troy. 23-4 over the last 2 seasons, 2 Sun Belt championships over the last 2 seasons. A little bit of controversy right now out at Tulane since he's taken the job on Monday. And of course, there was a lot of thought that, again, that some of the staff would stay behind when Willie Fritz went to Houston and would coach the team in the bowl game. But we're finding out now, again, through, actually it was Corey Platt who put it on his X account. There's some tampering going on with again the assistant coaches that are planning to go to Houston. Summerall put the kibosh on that yesterday. Matter of fact, he was on your show as well, saying that if any coach has taken another job with another university, he's not going to be allowed to coach in the Military Bowl. To me, it was a head-scratching move to even allow these coaches to stay on campus, knowing they were probably going to Houston with Willie Fritz. Because in today's world, with the ability to transfer immediately without having to be able to sit out, every player is a free agent.
I agree with that. Everybody wants to blame Willie Fritz. That's not a Willie Fritz problem.
That's
your athletic director.
Problem.
That's a Tulane problem. Understanding. Now, I think it was a grand slam, clear the bases home run with John.
I agree.
I think he is a great candidate, a great hire. He was a clear-cut number one guy. But you can't think like you did 5 years ago in college football.
It's a different world.
Totally different because it's interchangeable parts with players and coaches. Mm-hmm. And now you can move around. Coaches always could, but players now can move.
Right.
And not to think this through, that if you kept somebody that you knew was gonna join Willie's staff in Houston, that they weren't gonna talk to a player about come join us.
And there were those position coaches in a lot of cases, or the coordinators, so there was a relationship with those kids. Did you not think that was going to happen? I mean, that's just mind-blowing to me. Now Summerall comes in, he's got to triage this situation now.
Yeah, and I think he made the only move he could have made and the smart one.
Right.
If you're not staying, then hey, thanks. We appreciate what you did for Tulane. You brought us to one level, and now I'm in charge. Now I'm the boss, and what I say is, if you're not staying, then hey, thanks. We appreciate it, and I'm going to move on. I'm going to get who I got to get to come in to coach this team for the bowl game.
The issue is, again, his staff is going to be in a bowl game, right? Coaching. So, we'll see again how that plays out. The question I have, and the question I've asked a lot is, has Tulane learned a lesson here? And the lesson is, again, in today's world of college football, it is an arms race. And you have to be able to have the amenities that kids are looking for, because if you don't, the other guy's going to. They didn't build the practice facility. They don't have a football ops building. They're talking about, again, having that as a shared ops building with all the sports. But yet we saw the increased enrollment. We saw more eyes on Tulane football. We saw more money coming in from donors because, again, of winning football. And they had a guy that I thought might have stayed because, again, he was 63. And then, again, this was an opportunity for him to be able to, again, maybe retire at Tulane and have a statue put up for him. But it goes to show you that if you don't do the things that you promised, in a lot of cases, guys are going to bolt. And Willie Fritz moving on to Houston, to me, should be a lesson for Tulane that you got to, if you want to be a big-time program, you got to put the money into it.
Okay, Eric, you're not old enough. Why did Jim Pittman leave Tulane to go to TCU? Why did Mac Brown leave Tulane to go to North Carolina?
Right.
Why did Bowden leave Tulane to go to Clemson?
Right.
And you can kind of look at Larry Smith left here to go to University of Arizona. Promises were made, and some of them came through, but a lot of them didn't. Okay, so I'll say this. If we lived another 50 years, we'd be talking about that 50 years from now.
In today's world, they cannot do it. Either you are going to be a program or have an athletic program that has the amenities for these kids, or again, you're going to be in the group of five.
Well, you're going to be in the group of five. Because I don't know that long-term, short-term, long-term commitment to give every piece of the puzzle is there. Do you feel confident in that?
No, I don't.
So I definitely don't, because history does repeat itself. And we've been through a good 50 years of it, that we've seen it, either growing up or covering it, that the coaches, I could put, it didn't matter who it was, on the mic, they would say the same thing 50, 40, 30, 20, 10 years ago that they say today.
Right.
It's the exact same thing about a commitment. And now in an ever-changing world of college sports, which is almost like a pro franchise today.
It is.
The way you handle it and the way money is coming in at a lot of different angles. And I think we live in a different society than, say, our mom and dad, our grandma and grandpa. And if they had money, y'all handle that baby when I'm dead. After I go, y'all can fool with that. Today, you got people a certain age, their deal is, you know what, I want to see where my money is going to go. I'm willing to give you money, but show me what I'm going to get for that.
Especially if you're being a big donor to a university like that and you're trying to help them in terms of the athletic program. I would 100% agree with that. But again, you can't continue to promise coaches you're going to do things
and don't do it.
And don't do them. Now, you got a guy now here at Summerall who is an up-and-coming coach.
He is a really good one. But, my thing is this, and I told this to Willie, that you are successful because you left the program better off than how you took it.
100% agree.
I don't care what job you have, if you've taken over a position somewhere and you leave it better than how you got it, you have done your job. Willie did his job. That's a lot of hatred for Willie Fritz out there.
Be.
I don't get it.
Shouldn't be.
Okay, my thing is, if you a hater on Willie Fritz, let me see what you did in your life. Didn't you leave maybe a job to go somewhere else where they paid you more and maybe a little bit better benefits? Come on. You can't have your heart talk here. It's got to be your head.
Well, also, again, look. If you make commitments, you have to follow through on those commitments. And I hope that Tulane learns something for this. Because, look, this guy, he's successful. He's 41. Okay? Willie Fritz was 63.
That's a different.
He's moving to the next stop, and that means Tulane's going to be a stepping stone again. But that's not a bad thing if you understand that. Again, everything what you have to do to continue to have a program that's on the rise. But you have to, in today's day and age, you can't treat it like you did 15 years ago, or 5 years ago, or 10 years ago.
You can't treat it like you did 2 years ago.
It is an arms race now.
It is Major League. Sam Jankovic told me this years ago. He was the athletic director at University of Miami. So he was involved in hiring Howard Schnellenberger, Jimmy Johnson, Dennis Erickson, Butch Davis, okay? And he said, you know what I heard back from people at Miami or Florida? How come we can't keep a coach? And his reply was always, and I'm going to tell you this, what I told them. Would you rather have a coach that's on the Social Security plan and wants to be here 20 years, or a successful coach that everybody wants?
Right.
You make that decision.
Great point.
And there's a lot of what happened at Miami or Florida, which sort of is run in some manner similar to Tulane. Today.
Oh, look at it, private institution.
Private institution. So the way things happen with the Green Wave and the way they happen with the Hurricanes, the Hurricanes went through a run, unprecedented in college football, to win and have different coaches win them. I mean, when you think about what Schnellenberger did, what Jimmy did, what Erickson did, what Butch Davis did there, yeah, they all took off to go to the NFL or the professionals. But my thing is,
the next step.
They won.
Right.
They won, and they won big. So for Tulane, I think it's a part of understanding that the college world of athletics is changed so much. Even in 24 months, it's totally different than it was. Then it's changed in the last 24 years.
Yeah.
It's changed more in 2 years than it has in 24.
I mean, look, you no longer have to sit out. Again, now
you're getting paid legally?
Come on. I mean, you know,
because people don't realize.
And you have more leverage as a player now than you ever had.
And for some people, that really bothers them. Man, why? What, 19, 20-year-old? Okay, if you good enough, if that was your son, wouldn't you want to put him in that spot?
Come on, you know
come
you
on.
Would.
Oh, no. Come on. You lying through your teeth. You'd burn that. If you own a detector machine, you're burning it up.
You have to be able to change with the times.
Exactly.
And understand where, again, at least have the ability to be able to see where you are and see where you're going. And again, I think the Willie Fritz thing has to wake. If you don't wake up after this, then you're not going to wake up.
Eric, I've heard it too many times. I got to see it to believe it.
I agree.
I got to see it to believe it.
I don't want to hear I'm landlocked, okay?
Landlocked.
No, they had a chance years and years ago to go across Claiborne Avenue, and they didn't do it. So, again, we'll see how it plays out.
But for John, the key for him here for success is that, okay, now use the tool here, the transfer portal. Go out, get you a veteran quarterback.
Right.
He can recruit defense and also develop.
I agree.
You know, I did a number of events when Nick Saban was here at LSU, and he would always bring up R&D, recruit and develop players. That's the key. Now, there's a little caveat to that now, because you got to re-recruit the same guy every year because somebody's after him. But I think that recruit and develop players is a big part of today's game, but the recruit part also is the transfer portal part.
Yeah, I agree. Well,
and quarterback, man, listen, that's paramount for Tulane today.
Look at what happened. You had Pratt, and look at the success. If you look at the situation right now, I think Willie Fritz gave him a blueprint on success. Okay, again, you have your bases on where you have recruited well. You got a second bite at the apple on these Louisiana kids when they want to come back home in the transfer portal, and you got to take advantage of that.
Also, too, in a state that is so full of wideouts.
Yes.
Okay, this is a pitch and catch game.
Right.
The physical part, I think you're going to have to. You can get some players from the state, but you're going to have to spread your wings on that.
You do.
But wide receivers, just think about it. In a short period of time, you had Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr., Chris Hilton, Kyron Lacey, who grew up right up the road from where I live in Thibodeau. And then you had
Keys.
You had Keon Coleman, who leaves Opelousas, goes to Michigan State, and now becomes an All-American at Florida State.
Going to be a top pick.
Okay, Trey Thomas was an option quarterback. He actually played in the same team with Malik Neighbors. He was the quarterback there.
Yeah.
He leaves there, goes to Louisiana Tech, where he was a good receiver, goes to Ole Miss.
Right.
And he's an upper-level guy, and he's made the announcement he wants to come back for another year. Think about that. And Kai, young man from Hornville, okay, and what he did all in our backyard at one time, Eric. That's the blink of an eye.
Right.
And you got all these receivers in the state of Louisiana, and that's not going to change. Pete Jenkins has a line about Michael. He said, if we had buses, bring guys in to come to our camp, that bus for the line would be real short. But if we had them here just for receivers, you'd have to direct traffic.
Right.
Because look at all these wideouts that are there. And even a young man like David Robinson Jr. at Nichols State University, and what he did this year for the Colonels. And he went to Central Lafourche High School, my own high school, so I'm going to promote that part of it. But think about all those kids, all were local.
Well, look at Jackson, look at Keys for Tulane. I mean, these are local kids.
Exact same thing. So you have parts here, receiver-wise, that you can high school recruit, but if it doesn't work out for a guy, let's say at Michigan State or Kentucky or Tennessee or TCU, hey, come back here.
Right, come to Tulane.
And even with Willie, man, Chris Brazel, I didn't think he would stay.
Right.
Because he looked to be one of these guys that he was going to go somewhere else.
He's going to Power 5.
He's a star player.
Right.
But I think Willie did a great job of building I think the most important thing other than a quarterback, and that is offensive, defensive line.
I agree with that.
He won in the trenches. He won in the trenches.
That was his MO, too, because, again, think about it. He's the guy that ran the football through most of his career. Okay, so you knew he was going to be tough up front.
But he changed.
No, he did. No, but you have to.
And look at what he did to really make it change.
Right.
He had to get rid of guys that had been with him for a long time. But I think he realized, if I don't do that, you know who they're coming after next? Me.
Head coach, no doubt.
And so I think the good coaches, good administrators, good people, if it's NFL, college football, they realize, okay, there's a certain part of loyalty that you would say, man, I love to have. But also there's the part of this is a business today. And if we not working out and we not in the green, so to speak, and we in the red, I got to make a move.
Right. And a smart move it was for him, because it turned into, again, two of the greatest seasons back-to-back that Tulane's had. LSU going to play Wisconsin in the ReliaQuest Bowl?
ReliaQuest,
That's New Year's Day. I want to ask you about possible changes on the staff. There are a lot of rumors out there right now that's already a done deal. Corey Raymond's coming back. What are you hearing?
I've heard that too. Do we have Bruce Springsteen singing Glory Days? Okay,
Right.
Didn't you watch Florida's secondary the last 2 years? And I think a lot of Corey.
Right.
I think
his recruiting prowess is one of the things, obviously, that
okay, but my thing is, the development of the defensive backs at Florida, didn't they sort of look like what happened toward the trail end at LSU?
Okay.
Okay, that's great. Oh, you can say, well, recruiting matters. You know what matters today in recruiting? I got bucks.
Right.
Okay?
Okay.
I got bucks. Okay, people put a lot of emphasis, great recruiter, and that's fantastic. You know what catches a kid's attention? Being able to play right away, and secondly, what I'm going to get paid.
Right.
Okay, that's the two things. Listen, I'm around them all the time in all these camps. What gets their attention is I want a chance to play right away, and there also is the element of what I'm gonna get out of this.
Do you anticipate staff changes at LSU?
Oh, you gotta on defense.
Right.
You cannot stay status quo.
Does House survive?
Now that part I've heard. Some people in the know tell me they think he's going. Some people say they think he's staying.
Right.
My thing is,
well, I mean,
I don't see how you can keep it in place. Based off of what you saw, that was as bad a LSU defense as you could possibly watch.
Kelly did talk about retention on coaches and players.
You might be talking about retention on offense, but on defense, come on. Eric, retention, it is what it is.
To the choir.
On this, that defense did not get better.
Right.
It progressively got worse. And worse and worse. And, my old buddy Pete Jenkins, they bring him in.
Yep.
And Pete's like, Mike, I'm not a miracle worker. I can't lay my hands on this and it's all going to get better. I think it overshadowed what was just an unbelievable year offensively for LSU, and what Mike Denbrock and Joe Sloan did, offensive line was terrific. We got to see a once or maybe twice in a lifetime player, and Jane Daniels, because Chris Gordy and I, we were sitting next to one another, national championship game. Fletcher wasn't that far away, and I remember Fletcher asked me, you know, how does it feel, man? You know, a guy you grew up with, Coach O, winning the national championship, and I was like, man, you know, I'm thrilled for him and everything, but I don't think I'll live long enough to see the next Joe Burrow. I didn't have to live 5 years. I see it with Jaden Daniels, and he's a different player than Joe, but what he was able to do for this program. And it's all about, I think, a great lesson for people. Shaking off adversity. Didn't work out in Arizona State. Now they got film of people tearing up his locker, throwing stuff out of his locker when he left. Oh, he's a quit and everything else. He can't play. And look what he did. Go back to Manning camp this year, and I sat down with him, and he was like, yeah, I really need to get better on the medium to longer range throws. I didn't hit on that, and I wasn't confident in my throws last year, and I was aiming balls. And it reminded me something of what Bobby tells me all the time about just throwing the ball out there and let the receiver run under it and make the catch. Because he said, if you try to aim it, it's going to be off. How good he was on those throws from 20 yards and beyond, and throwing it out there and let Brian make the catch, and Malik and Kyron, all those guys. And it was a great year to watch him. And that Florida game, we were going to the Peter Frampton concert, and I got it on my phone, and everybody's like, what's happening? You know, my wife's like, you got to take that phone off. You know, okay, they only got a couple minutes left, you know, but it was unbelievable to see people's attention on what Jaden was doing, because they hadn't seen a quarterback at LSU being able to throw the ball like him, but run it like he did.
That next gear, man. That next gear. And of course, Malik getting snubbed for the Biletnikoff.
Yeah, he should have won that. This isn't about draft position, isn't about name recognition. But Malik had a better year than Marvin Harrison Jr. Bottom line, he did. But again, this is like a political election. Marvin was going to win the Midwest and the Northeast. Okay? It was almost like the Heisman. Having Penix and Bo Nix sort of go off with one another in the West, who determined this? Northeast and the Midwest. Because you know what? They didn't have a dog in the fight.
And of course, that split it out west, no doubt. Mike, thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Eric.
Always appreciate you joining us on the program. All right, remember there's so many ways to catch our program now. Again, you can check out all of our rebroadcasts. There's a QR code on your screen right now. They'll take you to the WLAE-TV YouTube page, also to my website, ericasher.com. Set your DVR for your favorite time slot, and you'll never miss the program. You catch me on the radio for 4 to 6 weekdays, 106.1 FM. You can listen live on the iHeartRadio app, the TuneIn Radio app, ericasher.com. Our podcast is on the Anchor Spotify app, but we're on all podcasting platforms, so it's Inside New Orleans Show with Eric Asher. You'll find that. I want to thank our underwriters who make this show possible, each and every one of them. There would not be a show without the underwriters, so please continue to support our underwriters. Also want to thank our friends here at WLAE-TV who produce our program. Ron Yeager, Jim Dotson, Logan Graffia, also again Danielle Wick, who I missed last week, and Alex Chacon, and of course the best director on the planet, that would be William Hill. Thank you so much for watching. We'll have another week next week. We'll have you next week for another edition of Inside New Orleans Sports. Thanks to Mike Detillier, and as always, thanks for watching.